Isn't your smile a prayer? All right, there we go. That's a little better. So number one is start smiling at people. Make eye contact and smile at them. Now, here's what you need to get. If they don't smile back at you, they just failed the first part of your Amway interview. Write that down. Some of you, you smile at somebody, they don't smile back at you, and you're like, that's the one I'm going to get in the business. That's the guy. I'm going to try all my Dale Carnegie stuff on that person and get them to like me by the time they leave this Rapid Lube. Are you kidding me? They failed the interview. Bless them and move on. Bless them and move on. Go ahead, you can cheer for that one. You're either going to have to get more live in a couple of minutes, or I'm going to have you up doing key eyes. I'm telling you. All right, smile. Number two, I want you to make an observation comment. I want you to say something incredibly intelligent, incredibly erudite. I want you to give them the best network marketing pickup line that you've ever used. I mean, I want it to be masterful. I want it to be creative. I want you to say stuff like, hi. Hi works. Hi works. Kelly Linster, did you see hi work today? Right? It worked a lot. People would walk on the elevator and they would say, and I'd say, hi, how are you? What did they just say to me, Kelly? Yeah, they said, hi back. What a concept. I wasn't trying to get anything from it. I talked to one guy, got his name. Well, you're here at a convention. Kelly and I are talking to him. No big deal. Usually, here's what you need to get about meeting people. If you can get this, I'm telling you, your life is going to be so much easier and so much simpler, and you'll have so much fun doing this, because some of you are so uptight about your Amway business, and you've got your goals written down, and they're on your mirror in your bathroom, and they're on your dashboard, and they're in your portfolio, and they're on your tracking program online, and you're looking at your goals, and you've set the goal that you're going to become, a silver, 1,500 or whatever by such and such a date, and you go to make your phone calls, and you're like, I'm now going to make the calls. I'm going to do the things that unsuccessful people are not willing to do. There's no pain without gain, and I'm now going to punch buttons on a phone to build my happy Amway business. And what do you mean? What do you mean you're not free Tuesday night? I've got goals. Having so much fun getting free. Here's what I came from Connecticut to tell you. Here's what I came from Connecticut to tell you. You've got to lighten up about this thing. You got to start having fun. Some of you think, when I get to silver, when I get to platinum, when I get to emerald, then I'm going to be happy. No. You've got to get happy now. You've got to get happy now. There are no happy endings to unhappy journeys. Write that down. People will say to me, they'll say, what do you do, MJ? What's your business? I say, I'm a professional speaker and an author. And they always go like this. They always go, oh, you probably have to travel. Like they're sorry for me, Oh, you probably have to travel a lot, huh? And I go, yeah, I love it. And they're like, all right, dude, relax. It's cool, But you see, I decided to line up with the travel. I travel with people, they're all upset. They're, everything bothers them about the airline travel. See, I decided to embrace the airline travel because it's what gets me to you. Without the airline, now I could resist it, and I could fight it, and I could say, I hate, and I know other speakers. I hate planes, I hate living out of a suitcase, this is my 5th hotel in 5 days. I decided that I love it. And you've got to decide that the prospecting part of your business, that you love it and you enjoy it. You can't do it for 25 years. If you're in this business for life, you can't do it for 20 years and hate it. You've got to align with it. You've got to get into it. You've got to have fun with it. My newest thing is I get on elevators and I turn around and I face all the people in the elevator and I look at them right in the eye. You ought to see their eyes, man. They're like little BBs in a boxcar. They're like, what's he looking at us for? What's he doing? I don't think I look that threatening at 5'8". I'm not that threatening, And I'll sometimes say, I bet you're all wondering why I called this meeting. If my sons are with me, 14 and 19, if my sons are with me, they're like, oh, the old man's doing it again. God, I hate having North America's prospecting coach as my father. Could I get a little more range on this mic? Could I get a little more range? So, actually, my newest thing has been also I get into the elevator and I stand next to the person now and I look at them and I've been looking at people and saying, "Are you ready?" And they look at me. They're like, "For what?" I don't know. So you got a briefcase there. You got your roller thing. I figure you're going out to do something. I just want to know if you were ready to do it. One gal was like, yeah, I'm ready. She goes, "Are you ready?" Believe me, ma'am, I'm ready. I'm ready. You got to have fun with this thing. You are never going to get out of this life alive. And we've never seen a U-Haul behind a hearse. You just don't see that usually. You're not taking it with you. You're not taking it with you. Get on a first-name basis with people right away. See, one of the things that a lot of you do is you meet people and you get really good at getting conversations going because you see a bonus above their head when you meet new people. You see that little thing around, you see a 4%, check or something. And so you're good at talking to people, but you're not good at getting the actual information. When it comes down to getting the number, you don't get it. Yes? So if you get on a first-name basis right away, this will help with that. So you just say, by the way, I'm MJ Durkin. Now, use your own name. It works better if you use your name. I get on a plane a couple of years ago going to Salt Lake. My oldest son, Corey, travels with me a lot. He's 6'4", 207 pounds. Not really sure where he came from. The UPS man used to come to my house a lot, but anyway, not sure. He looks like me, so I'm pretty sure he's mine. But anyway, we get on this plane. He sits on the window. He's on the aisle. I'm in the middle seat. There's a guy at the window seat. I get on the plane and I look at him and I do my thing. I go, "Hi, how are you?" And he basically doesn't, he doesn't really respond. He just kind of gives me that little, smile, So we were late. We were really late. I mean, like we got on the plane, like they're closing the doors. We get on the plane, a crazy morning in New York, and so now I sense the guy's a little bit of a character. So as I'm putting my stuff into the seat back and settling myself in, I said to him, by the way, first thing I said was, I said, "How are you?" And he says, true story. He says, "I'm calm." "Are you calm?" He says to me, "Are you calm?" And I'm like, yes, I'm calm. No, I'm not calm. I'm late. What kind of question is that? I'm thinking in my head. So then my next move is, and I sense he's a little bit of a character, so I don't actually turn and offer my hand, and I say to him, I said, "By the way, I'm MJ Durkin. True story. He says, I'm not. True story. I've heard a lot of stuff. It takes a lot to make MJ speechless, you know? What's this guy trying to tell me? Hey, buddy from Connecticut, shut your mouth. Right? That's what he's saying to me. He's definitely saying that to me. Well, listen, I let him be, and I had a little smile on my face, a little internal smile, because I was thinking to myself, that's okay. You don't want to be my friend. That's too bad, because I usually give books away to people. I'm on planes. I give them. I know I have a lot of contacts. I could have helped the guy out, but he didn't want to be helped. And I let him be. I blessed him, and I allowed him to be who he wanted to be. Sometimes you get your sights on somebody, and you're like, that's the one I have to get in the business. And you waste an incredible amount of time and energy on people that aren't ready, people that are resistant to you. And you need to just back up. Sometimes that's what gives your industry a bad name, is people that just keep going after, the same person and just keep hammering them when the signals are very clear that they are resistant. You need to back off of that. And I was thinking to myself, I'm going to make money off you because this is a great seminar story. So I really like that. Ask questions about them. What kind of questions could you ask somebody that you're meeting? What kinds of things could you ask them? Where do you live? You from around here? Right? Kelly's question to the guy in the elevator was, I see you're at a convention. I've seen some other people with that same blue tag. What's your convention about? Whatever you see about in the environment, you can mention. One of my clients told me the other day, he said he was at the coffee shack, he was getting a coffee, and the gal had some kind of a big bandage on her finger. And he just noticed it, and he said, oh, what did you do to your finger? And she started telling him about this accident she had and how she cut it and this and that. And he got in a great conversation just by observing something about her or about the environment. Now, when you're leaving the interaction is the best time to get the name and number. Why? Because if you try to get it at the beginning of the soccer game while you're sitting next to someone, or you try to get it at the beginning of the interaction, it's very possible they're going to ask you a lot of questions, and I don't want them asking you a lot of questions. Who was the genius guy at doing this? Columbo was the genius guy at doing this, right? He was always leaving, right? And as he was leaving, as his hand was on the doorknob, he would say, by the way, I noticed that there was another car in the garage you didn't tell us about that had the mud on the tires. And then the next thing you see, the guy walking off in handcuffs, right? They got him, right? So when you're leaving is a great time to then turn and to ask for their number. Whenever I'm getting someone's information, I'm always looking at my watch, because I don't want you to get nailed down having to answer a lot of questions, because it is not a good time to show the plan in the produce aisle at the grocery store. It is not a good time for people that will say to you at a soccer game, you need, tell me more about it. Tell me what the business is about. When you're leaving, you say, by the way. Notice two things. Notice by the way and by the way. By the way is a phrase that allows you to get in and out of conversations that you need to get in and out of. Write that down. By the way is a great, here's a quick little thing that you can say when you're leaving. You can say, by the way, listen, this probably sounds like it's coming out of left field, but I know some very successful people actually from Bellevue, Washington, and they've got a business that's growing fast and it's expanding even though the economy is slow. And they've asked me to make some introductions to them of some sharp people that I might meet. Listen, why don't you write your number on the back of this card? Write your cell number on the back here. And by the way, listen, I'm very busy, so if I don't get back to you right away, can you be patient? Audience, as you're writing your number, and I say to you, if I can't get back to you right away, can you be patient? Yeah. What would you say? Yes? Now, if you start to ask me questions after that, what does that look like for you? You're not being patient. and you're failing my interview. See, you'll notice in Double Your Contacts, posture. It's all about posture. Posture is extremely important. Extremely important. You have to have good posture. You cannot be needy. You cannot, if someone starts to give you a lot of trouble, it starts to give you a lot of questions, or they start bothering you, or they start getting that sneering thing, what's it all about? I love this one, How exactly would I be paid? Is it like $10.99? You tell them, you get paid with U.S. currency. That's how you get paid. We pay you American money. How do I get paid? Money. We give you money. Sometimes you got to give answers that, a lot of you, what happens is you're like the deer in the headlights. Your underwear's around your ankles as you're trying to answer their questions. My stuff puts the pressure on them. I want their shorts to fall down. I don't want the underwear around my ankles. It's hard to walk when your underwear's around your ankles. Somebody says to me, what's it all about? Why don't you tell me about it right now? I'd say, well, I have a policy. I never do that. And say, oh, okay. I've been using that for years. I learned that 25 years ago. People would say to me, well, can you do this? I say, oh, no, I'm sorry. We have a policy. We never do that. They say, oh, I didn't know it was a policy. If I had known it was a policy, I wouldn't have asked. I'm sorry. I apologize. I didn't know it was a policy. I make up policies all the time when I'm selling. Anything I don't want to do, I have a policy against that. Would you give us a 17-page proposal? No, I can't do that. I have a policy. We never do that. Oh, I didn't know I would have a policy. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to insult you. It's all right. I'll let it go this time, but please don't violate any more of my policies. You don't have to answer the questions. You're the one with the cookie. What do they have, a job? A job? Come on. Number 2 is a lead, is a name and a number. It's not an action step in my system. I just want you to see where it goes. I want you to understand that lead generation is everything in this business. If there's no leads, there's no business. You need to keep filling the average prospect list. When an IBO comes up to me and I ask to see their prospect list, what do you think the average number of names and numbers is on that list? It's about 15 to 16. And what a lot of those 15 to 16, a lot of those 15 to 16 names are people that they have called 1,000 times to invite them to a briefing. So they walk around with this list, and if their sponsor says, do you have a list? They say, oh, yes, I have my list with me. I have my list. I say, well, how many is on the list? 17 people. Well, why don't you call them? Well, if I called them and then they said yes or no, then they would be off the list, and then I would have no business. So I don't want to call anybody that's on this list because I know I wouldn't be out of ILD Global. I wouldn't have. So I love my list. Why don't you actually dial the punch buttons on a phone? I can't, because then I would have no list if they said yes or no. Keeping my list very close to me. Some of you need to make a call like this. Some of you need to actually take the list that you have, and you need to open it up, and you need to get on the phone. You need to punch buttons on a phone, because we don't dial anymore, do we? If you're saying dialing, you're old, okay? So, no more dialing. There's no dialing. There's people in this room that have never seen dialing before, right? Have you ever seen a dial phone? Yeah, you've never seen a dial phone. All right. Look, some of you need to make a call like this. Hi, listen, this is me calling. Look, I know that you know I've been in this business for several years, and I know I've been inviting you every Tuesday night for the last 5 or 6 years, and I know you've never been available. And I just wanted to let you know that we're having another briefing on Tuesday night, but here's the difference, is that if you can't make it to this one, I'm going to actually cross your name off the list, and I'm never going to speak to you about the business again, ever, Mom. Some of you need to take the list. One of the first things I do with clients is teach them how to purge and clean their lists. If you've got 40 or 50 names hanging around on a list and you haven't called them, get on the phone this week and call them and get them off the list. And try telling the truth. Here's a new way of selling. Try the truth. It's never been used before in selling. It'll really confuse the prospects. Here's the truth. Here's the truth. I've got your name on a list. I've got your name on a list, and I've been afraid to call you. Say it. Whatever the truth is, say it. If they're on your chicken list, say, you are on a list. As a matter of fact, you're number 8 on a list. I put you on the front page because it's my chicken list, and I'm afraid to call you because you make so much money. I figure you would not be interested in a business where you could make extra money that had consumables and so on and so forth, and it would be really good for you, but I just wanted to make sure that you told me no so that I could officially cross your name off the list and pick up the shattered pieces of my life and move on. You're not interested, are you? How can you lose with that? You're right. I'm not interested. See, I was right. See, hon? That was a good call. I was right. Cross them off the list and move on. Let me give you these quick. I'll give you these quick. These are some real good ones. Reaching decision makers. When you're reaching decision makers, you have to get people. How many of you are in voicemail hell? Can't get people to call you back? Okay, two people raise their hand. 3. Okay, good. All right, then I won't talk about it. Forget it. All right. Are you on it? Here's what you say. You say, I have a question for you. Give me a call. That's your voicemail message. It goes like this. I met David over at the pizza place a couple weeks ago. Last week, I met him. I prospected him. I got his name and number. Hi, David. This is M.J. Durkin calling. We met over at the pizza place the other day. Listen, I've got a question for you. Give me a call. Leave your number and hang up. Don't say anything else. There's only one reason that people call you back in today's world. What is it? They're curious. That's it. If they're curious, they will call you back. If you leave the history of Amway on their voicemail, they are not calling back. Well, there's 2 guys, Jay Van Andel and Rich DeVos, and they were flying out of the plane, and $8 billion later, free enterprise, and No, I got a question for you. Call me. That's good posture. It creates curiosity. Here's another one you can use. I haven't heard from you. If I don't hear from you, I'll assume that you're not interested, and I'll close your file. I had a guy, I use this all the time to get people to call me back. I had a guy call me back. He said, you have a file on me? I said, yes, I do. And it's not looking very good right now. Because I've left you 17 messages, and you haven't called me back. No. Let me talk to you about, as I'm winding up here, let me talk to you about some things that I brought for you, and then I'll end with a story. There is this teacher. The teacher goes to her students. She says, students, I want you to go home tonight and ask your father. I want you to ask your father to tell you a story that has a moral to it. So the kids go home. They come back the next day. She says, little Susie, did your father tell you a moral that had a story to it? And Susie said, oh, yes, teacher. My father told me a story. My parents happened to be chicken farmers. And my father told me a story about how they had taken all of the eggs from the chickens, and they had put them in a huge basket, and they were in the pickup truck, and they were going to the market, and they hit a big pothole, and all of the eggs flew out of the basket and crashed on the floor. They lost the entire group of eggs. And she said, yes, Susie, did your father tell you the moral to the story? And she said, oh, yes. My father said, don't count your chickens before they're, right? So, actually, the basket, right? Don't put all your eggs in one basket. There you go. Okay. So she says, very good, Janie. Do you have a story that has a moral to it? And she said, oh, yes. She said, my father told me a story about how they had all of the eggs in the incubators, and they lost power in the hen houses, and they lost the entire crop of eggs. And she said, yes, Janie, did your father tell you the moral to the story? And she said, oh, yes, teacher. My father said, don't count your chickens before they're. And she said, excellent. And then she said, Tommy, do you have a story with a moral to it? And she said, oh, yes. My father told me a story about my Aunt Karen. And my Aunt Karen was a flight engineer over Desert Storm. And her plane got hit by enemy fire, and they had to bail out of the plane. And as they were parachuting out, she had a bottle of whiskey with her, she had a machete, and she had a machine gun. And she quickly drank the bottle of whiskey before the bottle broke. She landed in the middle of 100 enemy troops. She killed 75 of the enemy with the machine gun until it ran out of bullets. She killed another 20 with the machete until the blade broke. And the last 5, she killed with her bare hands. The teacher is white as a ghost. She doesn't want to ask, but she has to ask. She says, "Tommy, did your father tell you the moral to the story?" He said, "Oh, yes, teacher. My father said never screw with Aunt Karen when she's been drinking." You guys have been great. We're going to have so much fun. God bless.
While the techniques and approaches suggested have worked for others, no one can guarantee that these techniques and approaches will work for you. In addition, we want to emphasize that success in this business does not come without hard work. The success depicted in this profile may reflect income from sources other than Amway, such as earnings from the sale of training and education materials or other businesses and investments. For existing IBOs only.